Good evening and welcome to Dingwall. The floodlights are on, the champions are in town, and we have got an action-packed show for you here on RCFC TV as Ross County take on 10 in a row, chasing Celtic. Looking for those points that will propel them away from the foot of the table. Live and uninterrupted coverage here with us throughout the evening on RCFC TV. And joining me in the studio we have the Staggies captain, Iain Vigurs. Welcome, Iain.
Thank you. Thanks for
and our
having
very
us.
Own Stephen Craigan as well. Welcome, Crags.
Jimmy, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Iain, before we talk about football, can you address what's happened to your hair, please, in the last few days?
So obviously we can't go and get a proper haircut. So Ross Draper actually originally tried to cut it, didn't like the job he did.
I imagine
so
he was quite agricultural with the clippers.
Yeah, it actually looked like a trifle. It had that many layers. So I gave it a bash myself. Yeah.
Crags, how are you? How was your trip up today?
Fine, beautiful. It was a lovely day to drive up the A9. The sun was out. I think this time last week there was frost and there was snow and the boys couldn't train, the game was off, but today was lovely.
Yeah. Iain, I know you're suspended, you've had injury niggles and such throughout the season. How frustrating is it to be, as wonderful as our company is, joining us in the studio rather than being out there taking on Celtic?
Yeah, it is frustrating, especially, obviously I'm serving my 2-game suspension, and I was hoping this was going to be my second game, but with Hibs being called off last week, this is only my first, so it's even more frustrating. But it's hard being in here, even though we use our lovely company, as you said. No, I'd rather be out there with the boys, to be honest.
I'm sure. Well, with compliments like that, you're welcome with us anytime.
Thank you.
Let's just remind ourselves briefly, get away from this terrible banter. Let's remind ourselves briefly of just how tight things are at the bottom of the Scottish Premiership, of course. At the other ends, Rangers beating Dundee United by 4-1 earlier this afternoon. So they are now a whopping 18 points clear of Celtic at the summit. Looks like they are on course to win the title and stop that 10th successive crown for Celtic. But County there at the bottom, just a point behind Hamilton Academical. So all to play for this evening. Coming up next for County after tonight's encounter, there's a trip to St Mirren on Saturday the 27th of February. We do have live coverage from Paisley on RCFC TV, as we do the following weekend when Kilmarnock are the visitors to Dingwall, and then, as Iain says, that rescheduled match against Hibernian has been penciled in for the 13th of March. Well, Crags, it's been a long time since we've been here. It's been just over 2 weeks, I think, since County's last game. What does that allow John Hughes to do, to work on in training?
Well, I'm guessing in the build-up to last week's game, the mindset would have been on Hibs and how you can beat Hibs. So once that game is called off, all focus has to come towards Celtic. And, Celtic are still a good side. They've still got top players. So ultimately, County will have to play above themselves. I think you've got to run more than Celtic. You've got to jump higher than them. You've got to make tackles. You've got to outwork. The things that you can affect as an individual and who you're playing against. That's what County have to do tonight against Celtic. If you stand off and you admire them and you're passive, they will beat you. So you have to make the game different. You've got to make it uncomfortable and untidy for them. So that's why I'm expecting a high-intensity performance. If there's a positive from County being bottom, Motherwell lost yesterday, Kilmarnock lost, Hamilton lost. But ultimately, County won't stay up with those teams losing. County will stay up by picking up points and winning games themselves. There's no one outside this football club tonight believes that County can get anything from the game. So the players and the management have to believe it. Yeah.
What has been the focus of training this week, Iain? John Hughes, when he spoke to us earlier, which we'll hear in a few minutes, said that he'd organised a bounce team. I guess given you were unavailable, you might have been on the opposite side of the team that he'd set out to potentially play tonight.
Yeah, I think mostly what he's been working on this week is more because he's been able to get the boys out on the grass and on actually a full-size pitch, where unless you're just stuck in the indoor, it's nice and it's too tight. But he's been working on the shape. He's been trying to, install into the boys where he wants them to be on the pitch, whether it be in possession or out of possession. And that's key, especially out of possession against teams like Celtic.
Yeah, see, the thing is, if you play against Celtic, if County played total football and Celtic played total football, Celtic win because they have better players. That's just a fact of life. So County have to do something different. They have to try and be maybe more direct. Got to play for second balls, play for territory, throw the ball forward, try and turn Celtic as much as they possibly can. And I look back to the Aberdeen game, which we've spoken about an awful lot, when they won 4-1 here, County. It wasn't total football.
Yeah.
They threw the ball in behind and made it uncomfortable for Aberdeen that day. So that's what they have to do with Celtic. Take them to a place they don't want to go to. Celtic want to come here on a Sunday night and pass the ball and enjoy the game. They can't enjoy the game, or it could be a long night.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there is, of course, recent success for County against Celtic. You only have to go back 3 months to November when Celtic's incredible run of domestic cup victories was halted in spectacular fashion by the Staggies. Their first ever victory at Celtic Park as well. Here's a look at the best of the action. Yeah, fantastic afternoon that was for Ross County down in Glasgow's East End back in late November. Iain, you played in that game. We saw a couple of meaty challenges, typical Vigurs challenges in that little edit there. What can you take from that game into this one?
Well, first and foremost, we defended extremely well that day. And when we got our chances, we took them. And that's what we have to do tonight. But he just says, Craig says, like, if we try and play football against Celtic, if we try to go toe-to-toe with them playing football, we're going to get beat. So we need to get in their faces. We need to, as you say, take them to a place where they feel uncomfortable, where they feel like they can't play their normal game. So that's what we have to do tonight. And I believe that we've got the players on the pitch that can more or less disrupt Celtic and make it a very difficult night for them. Yeah,
Craigs, that was such an impressive performance for a number of reasons, but as Iain says, it was built on the foundation of that very impressive defence.
And I didn't mean to sound critical that if County play football, of course they still have to pass the ball tonight, but they have to do it in the area of the pitch where it can hurt Celtic rather than around their own goal and encourage them on for the press. But what that game should convince the players of is that they can beat Celtic, irrespective of what kind of form Celtic were in. And John Hughes, if he stands up in front of the dressing room and he is talking to the players about beating Celtic, it's not false hope because they've done it before. And that's the mindset you have to go into. Of course, there's so many facets of it. You've got to defend well. Your goalkeeper had to make saves. You had to match runners. You had to take your chances when they came along. All that, exactly. That's probably what you have to do in most games, but even more so when you play one of the big two, because your discipline has to be good, your concentration, your communication, all the things that have to come together. But they have to take inspiration from that and thrive on tonight.
Yeah, very much so. Well, it is, of course, a big old night for the Staggies. It's a big old night for John Hughes as well. It's the 30th time as a manager that he has been opposite Celtic in the dugout, and he caught up with Craigs earlier this evening.
John, it's been a while since you last played. You're back on the grass after it's thawed out. How's it been?
Yeah, it's been very good because of a couple of practice matches. You get your distances better, and it's been quite competitive. So hopefully, all the work that we've done this week, we can take it into tonight's game.
You said during the week that Celtic had their mojo back. How then do you convince your players that you can beat them?
Well, you have to keep yourself in the game and don't concede the goals that we're conceding. And you mentioned a while ago since we played, if you look at the 2 goals against Dundee United, self-inflicted. You have to be better. In both boxes, we have to go and head the ball. We're losing too many goals from set pieces. So you'll notice tonight everyone's back to park, trying to rectify that. And hopefully then you can get a hold of the ball and take the game to Celtic. But I'll be honest enough to say it'll not be from the first part of the game where the goalkeeper's getting it and Celtic want to play out and Scott Brown goes between the 2 centre halves. They can go and have it there. That's not going to hurt us. It's what comes after the second layer, where these guys are rolling it into guys like Christie, Rogic, whoever it be, Turnbull. That's the problem. These guys take it on the back foot and that's when they hurt you. So there's a wee bit, we'll have to get the tactics spot on. We're going to send them down one side. Hopefully, we can go and deal with that and then, get in about them and get close to them and try to take our game to them.
Yeah, there's no doubt when you come up against one of the big two, you have to be organised, you've got to work on your shape. But ultimately, when you land in the ball, you have to take part in the game as well, don't you?
Yeah, that's what everybody's forgetting about Celtic. Once you give it away, they get after you, this high press and get after you. So you have to be brave to get on it, pass it, move it quick. And hoping that we can do that. But I just think Celtic are a little bit vulnerable at set pieces. I don't think they've got much height in their team. Your two centre half, Welsh and Iain. After that, we're noticing that one or two Brown and one or two other ones picking up. So if we get that opportunity, we have to get the ball in with quality. If you look at our games, it's not been the case. Our set pieces have been, in terms of the quality of ball going into the box, it's not giving us a chance. So hopefully we can do that, rectify that tonight, and a wee bit of luck we can score off a set piece.
What's behind your team selection? What's behind your thinking then with going with that side?
Well, I like a left and right in my team, and in that practice match, I set my team up and thinking, saying this is maybe the team that I might go against Celtic. And like you've probably played in plenty of them, they've got an absolute doing. They've got a doing with the boys that are coming in there tonight in terms of Spittle and Gardine. And these boys lit it up, taking what I've just said to you, taking on the second layer. And sometimes if they're giving you everything that they've got in training, then you have to go and award that. So they've got their chance tonight. One or two have been banging on my door. Great, I like that. That tells me that they care. They get their chance tonight. So hopefully that they could be the winner. I never know, but hopefully they have a good performance.
John, all the best tonight. Good luck.
Thanks very much.
Support the Staggies and sponsor your favourite player for the 2020-21 season. Sponsorship includes listing on the club's website's player profile. Meet your favourite player at an exclusive meet and greet event at the end of the season. Receive their top, boots or gloves framed. Sponsor a home or away kit for £300, both for £500. Boots for just £220 and gloves for only £200. For more information, get in touch.
Help raise funds for the Ross County Youth Academy when you shop, eat out and lots more at no extra cost to you. Sign up to fantasticfanatics.com and securely register your everyday debit or credit cards. You'll also be automatically entered into ongoing cash prize draws. Retailers include B&Q, Currys, JD Sports and more, with a percentage going to the Staggies each time you spend. Visit fantasticfanatics.com and help fund the future of Ross County.
Yeah, John Hughes, thunderously good value as ever in the RCFC TV studio. Crags, what did you take from that interview about how he's going to go about his business tonight?
Well, I think he wants his players to be brave in possession, but he understands that when you play against top sides, you can't stop every avenue. So if you can't win the ball high up, drop off, keep your shape, be hard to play against, try and draw Celtic on, then you've got to look to counter-attack with the likes of Michael Gardine, Blair Spittle, Stephen Kelly, Charlie Lacken, Tony Andrew. You've got to carry that threat going forward. So as much as you set off, when you land on it, you've got to be brave. So he always wants his team to play. But sometimes as a manager, you've got to put your principles aside and think, how can you win a game? And that's what it sounds like tonight. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, let's just take a look quickly at the team that John Hughes is going with this evening. It does show a number of changes, 4 in fact, from the side that were beaten against Dundee United a couple of weeks ago. Blair Spittle, Alex Jakoviti, Charlie Lacken and Michael Gardine all coming in. Leo Hjelde dropping out, of course, the Celtic loanee, unable to play against his parent club. Harry Payton, Jermaine Hilton and Billy Mackay dropping to the bench. Iain, you've been involved in training, you've been involved in how John's going to set this team up. What are we going to see from County tonight with that selection, that shape?
Well, I think, as I say, when you're playing against teams like Celtic and Rangers, you're going to have to hit them on the counter attack, but because you're defending for so vast amount of the game, when you do actually get the ball, you need to be good in possession. Make sure you keep hold of that ball, because if not, they're just going to keep recycling it, and you're just going to get more tired, and they're just going to pick off spaces or mistakes where someone's dropped the mark or not filled a hole. So we need to be good in possession, and as I say, and help us get up the pitch by the likes of giving it to Michael Gardine and Blair Spittle and Tony, and making sure we can get our defence up and not just be sitting in on our 18-yard line, because that's what Celtic want. and we need to be good on the ball as well as off the ball.
Yeah, Craigs, John's got a number of options up front now. Ollie Shaw and Billy Mackay on the bench. Jordan White picked to lead the line tonight. His physicality, his power, his hold-up play is going to be very important.
It is. You look throughout the Celtic team, and Christopher Iain is probably their most physical player. And I wouldn't say he's the bravest. With all respect to him, he's a good player, but he's not the most physical, as in he wants to go make contact with people. I then look at the player beside him, Stephen Welch. So if I was John Hughes, I'd be saying to Jordan White, you actually mark Stephen Welch. Don't let him come and mark you. Don't play on Christopher Iain. Play on Stephen Welch. He's a young man trying to make his way in the game. If there's any vulnerability, it may be there. John Joe Kenny will get forward, so there may be space for you to peel off for diagonal balls. If you enter the final third, Blair Spittle, Michael Gardine, Jason Naismith, or Carl Tremark, cross it. Nothing else in your mind. If you get within 30 yards of the goal, put it into the box. See if Jordan White can out-jump them. Can you pick up second balls, midfield, go and gamble? Again, is it against how John would ideally want to play? Of course it is. But County in a relegation battle, they've won 6 out of 28 games. They've conceded 53 goals, only scored 21. So something has to change. And the team have to change it, the manager has to change it. So tonight against Celtic, put the ball in the box out of the opportunity. As much as we spoke about in the past, County concede goals from crosses, so does Celtic. Go and test them out. Yeah,
lots of responsibility, of course, on those broad shoulders of County's striker Jordan White. But of course, at the other end as well, could be a big evening for Ross Laidlaw. Let's take a look at some of his best moments this season so far. Some fantastic point-blank saves, especially in these games against Dundee United and Aberdeen that we're about to see.
Yeah, he's, as you say, he's been in fine form. He's bailed us out on numerous occasions, and against Dundee United, apart from the 2 goals where he didn't really have much chance. He's been in fine form. He's came up trumps in so many games for us, but we need to help him out. The front 4 in front of him, they need to help him out because he can't keep pulling off saves like that for 90 minutes, especially against the quality of opposition against Celtic.
Yeah, obviously I'm throwing you both a hospital pass here since you're not former goalkeepers, but Craigs, you were slightly closer to the goalkeepers in your playing days than Iain is. How important is the role of the back 4 in front of him? Because as we're about to see here, there have been occasions where he's been left a bit exposed.
Yeah, there has been, and it's been the Achilles heel. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Crosses into the box have been an issue, particularly from corner kicks. So as much as he's making saves, I think he's actually kept the goals against down. It could have been an awful lot worse for him. And he will be frustrated because goalkeepers take pride in keeping clean sheets as much as strikers take pride in scoring goals. So there's not really an awful lot that can be done. The defenders in front of him have to mark their men. They've got to get close, they've got to get tight, they've got to wrestle as much as they can, because if you're giving free headers from 6 yards out, you're going to be punished. And Ross Laidlaw is one that I have to be honest, I didn't know an awful lot about him before this season. I've watched him closely. And I've, looking at his game, he's quite happy to come for crosses. He makes big saves when he has to. He seems decent enough with the ball at his feet. And I don't really remember any standout errors that he's made. And I think he's really grown in stature. I think this is the most games he's played in his senior career in one single season. And I think he's got better with it. He goes under the radar a little bit because he's not a household name. But if you watch County every week, you can see how good he is, how well he's done, how nice he's progressing. The fact that Ross Duhans came from Celtic, hasn't managed to get in, had to go back, speaks volume for him. So he will need to have a big game tonight, no doubt about it. County will have to defend and he will have to make saves. Get that mix right and be a threat at the other end.
Yeah, Iain, there's been a high turnover in the back line directly in front of Ross. You've had the likes of Josh Reid moving on to Coventry City, Conor Randall injured, Tom Gravosti injured, Cole Donaldson rotated out with the team. There's been a huge change in who's had those starting jerseys. Leo Hjelde as well, coming in and out more recently. What do we need to see from the defence in front of Ross tonight, and what will be a massive challenge for those guys?
Well, first and foremost, when you get onto that pitch, you need to talk to each other. You need to be a good teammate and talk, because when you're playing against Celtic, that's the most vital thing you have to do, is talk, because it can save your teammate 10, 15 yards and you're always on the cover, always on the swivel, seeing what's around you, because as I say, Celtic, they like to play nice wee passes in the box, so they're going to have a lot of work to do, and they're going to have to talk, and Big Roscoe's going to have to talk to his back 4 as well, try and get him off his toes, because that's where Celtic want to get you, in our own 18-yard box. So he needs to get them out and get them up as high as they can, and just try and get in Celtic's faces.
Sorry, Jim, just quickly, that County have to be careful that Celtic will be at their most dangerous when County have the ball. So when you have the ball and you're wide open and you think we're in possession, that's when you have to switch on. That's when the communication becomes vital. Callum Morris making sure Jason Naismith's tucked in, Alex Iacovitti making Carl Tremarco's tucked in. Make sure the middle of the pitch is filled. Because if you expose that area and be open, Celtic want that because they know County are going to defend deep. So they want to create the spaces. So that's when you have to switch on.
Yeah, there speaks a very, very experienced defender who's played against players of this quality many, many times. As Craigs rightly says, so many attacking threats in that Celtic lineup. We'll bring you their team news and focus on what the visitors will bring to the table after the break.
As a family-owned business, Norscot understand the need for stability, security and comfort. That's why every timber frame kit we supply is built with these in mind. Providing great design flexibility, our homes are entirely customisable to your needs. And with a wide range of adaptable set and bespoke designs on offer, your budget is not a limitation. To find out more, email info@norscot.co.uk. Norscot, proudly serving customers throughout the UK since 1984.
Well, I promised you that Celtic team news, so let's take a look at how the visitors are going to line up this evening. There are two changes to the Celtic team that played Aberdeen in midweek, a 1-0 victory for Neil Lennon's side. Out go Ismaila Soro and Albion Ayeti, with Tom Rogic and captain Scott Brown returning to the starting 11. There will be that midfield diamond as well, with David Turnbull on the right, McGregor on the left and Ryan Christie floating around, menacing up front as he loves to do. It's hard to just focus on one or two players in that lineup, Iain, because there are so many individuals that can hurt you. Yeah,
you've got your so-called front five there. You take Scott Brown out of it, and they can all interchange, and they create so many problems for so many teams. So, as I said, County have to be really at it because they've got quality all over there. Turnbull, Christie. Two excellent players that can, make something happen out of nothing. So we need to be switched on.
Yeah, we're going to talk in more detail about David Turnbull in a few minutes, Craigs, a player, of course, very well. But out with him, who are you looking at as the real danger men? Ryan Christie's one that jumps out, especially when he's played in this position where he might have a little more freedom to roam and cause some mayhem.
Which means he's hard to pick up then. I imagine the space that he vacates, David Turnbull will look to fill it. Tom Rogic will look to fill it. Callum McGregor will look to fill it. The responsibility will be on John Joe Kenny and Greg Taylor to bring the width. But what may play into County's hands is the small playing surface. It's not as big as Celtic Park. A lot of those players may be looking for the same space, looking for the same pass. So it gives County a chance to smother them and be compact and be against them. Edward's probably the main one with pace.
Yeah.
So you've got to be careful you don't leave too much space in behind. But when you get a chance, as a defender would speak, and Iain, who makes plenty of fouls, when you get a chance to make a tackle, make sure and leave a little bit in. You can't afford to go dipping your toe in the water. You've got to make sure you're physical. See if they fancy the physicality, see if they fancy it here on a Sunday night. And that's not being, foul play. It's playing the game the way you have to play it. Because if you let these guys play, they're going to punish you.
Yeah. We could probably spend an entire programme, an entire 90-minute match dissecting Celtic season, what's gone right, many things that have gone wrong. Try and sum up for us, Craigs. Why do you think things have fallen apart as dramatically as they have, and now suddenly they're on a winning run again?
Well, whether it was complacency in the summer with their signing process, because I thought it was dragged out into September. By that stage, they were out of the Champions League. Rangers had a lead at the top of the table. Yeah. Problems were starting to appear. Cracks were appearing. Players weren't happy. Players were out of form. COVID had kicked in. There was just so many things seemed to snowball on what should be, or what should have been, a huge season for them. They gave the impetus to Rangers and allowed them to progress. They then had the sticky spell over October, November. They've come back with good form, but it's too little, too late.
Yeah.
So Celtic are playing without pressure. They're playing with the freedom. They should be playing for titles and cups. Unfortunately, they're playing for second place.
Yeah, playing for second place indeed, but they are still scoring some very, very good goals. More recently, of course, on a 5-game winning run just now, and these goals we're about to see here are examples of the sharp interplay, the teamwork, and the many attacking rapiers that they've got in this side.
Listen, if you continue to give players space, good players space, if you stand off them, this is what Celtic do. So as much as they've been in poor form, they seem to be turning things around, whether it's because they're, teams are sitting off them, whether they're feeling better about themselves. I'm not too sure what it is, but when you've got Christie and Rogic and McGregor and Brown and Turnbull and Edward, they're going to pose you problems if it clicks. Yeah. If it clicks. And the thing is, tonight, County can't afford to let it click. Good players given time become great players.
Yeah.
And County have to make sure tonight there's no great players in the Celtic team, because they've got that kind of quality. They've got guys who are going to cost 10, 15, 20 million pounds, but don't stand and admire it. However, that's a little word of warning. If you do stand and admire, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, when you look at those goals and those highlights that we're seeing, Iain, what do you see? Do you see teams that are sitting off too much? Do you see just better players than the opposition?
Well, you're seeing players that are more confident now than they were a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago. And as Craig said, if you don't get in their faces early doors, especially on the pitch out there where it is going to be pretty bobbly, and they are going to start passing it around you if you just sit off them, because they're top quality players. But if you get in their faces, make it hard for them, especially early doors, they might not fancy it tonight.
Yeah. Well, let's talk then about David Turnbull-Craggs. Of course, you worked with him as a youngster coming through the ranks at Motherwell, and you must be pleased, proud to see the level that he's now stepping up to, the ability he's showing in what is a difficult situation for a player to come into, given the chase for 10 in a row and how tough Celtic season has been for one reason or another. He's been their form player. Absolutely, and
I'm probably a little bit surprised that people are surprised how good he is. I remember even back here, and I think it was March 2016, as a 16-year-old kid. He played here for my Motherwell team in the Youth Cup semi-final. He scored 2 goals, and as a 16-year-old he was outstanding. I don't mean he's progressed since then, but he's always had the natural talent. His receiving skills are phenomenal. His vision, what he sees, his confidence in the ball, his willingness to shoot from distance. And if he gets within 20, 30 yards tonight, someone has to come and engage with him. Because he scores a goal here against Dundee United, wonderful free kick against Hibs. He's got one coming up against Aberdeen. He scored the winner during the week. But what I like about him is he hasn't changed his game since a 16-year-old when I first set eyes on him. He still wants to do the same things. He wants to join in. He wants the ball. Senior players want to give him the ball. And he's carried that threat. He's taken it on. Nothing phases him. I've asked him before, do you get nervous? And he said, really nervous? I says, well, sometimes you have to show that. Because he doesn't. And I think he's really grown into being a top-class Celtic player. Yeah. He's only going to get better. And if I'm being honest, Celtic fans, I would say, enjoy him while he's here. Yeah. Because if he keeps this up, he could be making another move. Yeah. Iain, we're short on time, but last word to you. Obviously, you're not going up against Turnbull today, but what do the likes of Stephen Kelly and there have to do to negate his threats?
Well, don't shoot him on his right foot from 25 yards, that's for sure. But yeah, that's more or less it. Try and get in his face as quickly as you can, and get bodies round him, because, as you say, he is their go-to at the moment. For one so young, but he's been brilliant for them, and we need to get in his face early doors and not allow him the space to shoot from 20-25 yards out. Yeah. Well, Iain, thanks very much for taking the time to come and join us today. Thanks you for your insights, and we hope you're back on the pitch before too long. Cheers. Thank you. Everybody watching at home, as you can tell by the empty pitch behind us, it's almost time for kickoff. We'll be heading down to the commentary box, and we'll join you from there for live, full, uninterrupted coverage of Ross County versus Celtic in a few minutes' time. See you then.
Sometimes you have to search far and wide for the answer. But for creative video production, the answer's on your doorstep. DP Digital Media, the other top team in the Highlands.
Play your part in producing tomorrow's stars of the Staggies with an Academy Player Sponsorship package for season 2020-21. First team future success relies on your support to nurture players like current number 43, Josh Reid. For more information on how you can assist the Football Academy in developing the next generation of Ross County, contact gordon.duff@rosscountyfootballclub.co.uk today.
When I hold the card, I'm standing with my family.
When I hold the card, I'm standing with my teammates.
When I hold the card, I'm standing with my neighbours.
When I hold the card, I stand with my brothers and sisters.
We're standing with everyone who's had to endure racial prejudice in their lives.
Racism comes in many forms, some clear, some more subtle.
It affects not just the victim, but friends, families, and entire communities.
No one is born with it, and tolerance is taught, but it can be untaught.
To bring about change, we can't be afraid to take the first step. We fail when we fail to try.
We are supporting Show Racism the Red Card, our education charity.
Now more than ever, they need your support to give our future generation the tools to challenge prejudice, hatred and discrimination.
It's not enough to be not racist. We all must be anti-racist. Education is the key.
Help raise funds for the Ross County Youth Academy when you shop, eat out and lots more at no extra cost to you. Sign up to fantasticfanatics.com and securely register your everyday debit or credit cards. You'll also be automatically entered into ongoing cash prize draws. Retailers include B&Q, Currys, JD Sports and more, with a percentage going to the Staggies each time you spend. Visit fantasticfanatics.com and help fund the future of Ross County.
As a family-owned business, Norscot understand the need for stability, security and comfort. That's why every timber frame kit we supply is built with these in mind. Providing great design flexibility, our homes are entirely customisable to your needs. And with a wide range of adaptable set and bespoke designs on offer, your budget is not a limitation. To find out more, email info@norscot.co.uk. Norscot, proudly serving customers throughout the UK since 1984.